Welcome to a More Beautiful World podcast with Susyn Renee, a place for those of us with the desire to expand our consciousness, tap into higher vibrations of love, and to connect into a community where together we can make the world a more beautiful place. I'm so eager to share with you what I've learned on my journey in discovering how we're all connected and how what we do for one, we do for us all. Here, I'll be sharing my own experiences, knowledge, and expertise for how you can heal, transform, and ascend your being so that together we can create the more beautiful world we all know is possible. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A More Beautiful World. I am your host, Susyn Renee, and today we are going to be talking about connecting to your nourishment. So remember, it's all about bettering yourself so we can beautify our world. And I believe that one of the most foundational things we can do to better ourselves and beautify our world is to better our nutrition. And furthermore, really deepen our connection to our nourishment. My journey as a spiritual wellness mentor really began because of nutrition. And it really was the most beautiful foundation I could have laid for myself on my own journey. And as part of the ascension paradigm, which again, the ascension paradigm is about body, mind, and spirit medicines. But as part of that paradigm, keeping your vessel clean, in that body part of the paradigm, it's so important. And that's really what I want to chat with you about today is connecting into your nourishment, keeping your vessel clean, because it is about laying a healthy physical foundation for yourself. This is a beautiful entry point to really raise your vibration, but also to better yourself and beautify our world. So let's dig in. I always like to start off asking you some thought-provoking questions. So today, ask yourself, what is your current relationship with food, with your diet, with your nutrition? Are you even connected to it? Do you even have a relationship with your food? Are you a mindful eater or are you a mindless eater? And really, what changes can you make to improve your connection to your nourishment? Because again, we have these beautiful vessels, right? And connecting into that and make sure we're connecting into how we are nourishing them is so important. So, as we talk more into the nutrition and nourishment space today, I just want to let you know I'm not going to be diving into, macros or calorie counting or carb counting or anything like that. This is really a bigger perspective that I'm asking you to take. And this goes into the story of interbeing, right? And seeing us as all connected and understanding that we're connected to the plants, to the animals, to the water, to the air. All of that is connected. So I invite you today, as we go through this episode, to approach all of this from that perspective of the story of interbeing and connectedness. So, as we dive in, then, nutrition, specifically holistic nutrition, it is such a beautiful entry point to strengthen your connection into your nourishment. As I mentioned earlier, it is part of the ascension paradigm, and that falls into, nutrition falls into the body foundations category of the ascension paradigm. And it really is a primary therapy for a healing process. I've found, I've worked as a clinical nutritionist for several years, and many people do begin to work with nutrition specifically because of an illness. There has been some dis-ease process that has manifested in the physical body, and that really is a sign that it has taken too long for you to focus on your body, right? We don't want to let it get all the way to a disease process to manifest. We want to be proactive, right? Which is why, again, today I'm inviting you to look at this connection to how you are nourishing yourself and how you are taking care of your physical body, because we want to be proactive and not wait until it's too late or until the disease process has set in. For me, my reconnection story for food did begin with the disease process. So learn from me. It doesn't have to go that far. But I do absolutely, in my heart of hearts, know that food is medicine for our bodies. And I do also know now in hindsight that my perspective on nutrition was a bit distorted for many years. I was always using nutrition as a way to fix myself, with this mentality that I was broken, right? And I was broken. So I had to have a restrictive diet and I would do a lot of restrictive eating because, again, I thought I needed to fix something, that I was broken. And it was almost as if I had been using it as a form of punishment, which comes out of a lack of self love and not truly seeing the connection of myself to the divine, of myself to others, and the connection that we have to our planet, to our plant and animal brothers and sisters. So, although it did help me on my journey and it has gotten me to where I am today, over these last few years, when I have began to broaden my perspective and really connect into the energies of the food, to connect into my nourishment and to really come from a place of self-love instead of this self-punishment, and understand this story of interbeing and this interconnectedness, that is where the magic really started to happen. And that shift did begin, I would say, probably around 4.5 years ago when I started studying Buddhism, and I took refuge in Buddhism. And one of the friends I had at the time, he would always pray on his food. And I was born and raised Catholic, and we always did a lot of prayer, before mealtime. And as I, kind of became like a teenager, I thought, well, screw the Catholic religion, screw the praying on the food, like whatever, none of that matters. And it was really fascinating when I saw this man praying on his food, in a very traditional Buddhist way. And it was all in Tibetan. I didn't understand anything he was saying, but I got curious and I asked, what are you saying to your food? What are you doing? And it really was about honoring the food and honoring the people who brought the food to the table. And again, making this sacred connection of recognizing we are connected to that food. That food is about to become a part of us. And it already was a part of us, right? In this grand scheme, because we're all connected. And it is now becoming our nourishment. And seeing and understanding the level of gratitude and appreciation from the Buddhist perspective, it shifted my perspective on what it means to connect into your nourishment and what it really means to nourish your body and what that feels like. So with that, that was kind of the start. That was like what I call that planted the seed for me into getting into this connection into my nourishment. And then it was probably about 1.5 years later, I read this amazing book. So when I was a teacher of holistic nutrition at the Energetic Health Institute for 2 years, we made a change to our curriculum. And in that change, we brought in this beautiful, beautiful book called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And that was honestly one of the most inspirational, perspective changing books that I've read on this topic. So Robin Kimmerer, she is a Native American. I believe she is of the Potawatomi tribe in the Potawatomi Nation. And she's also a scientist and a teacher. And she knows, I believe she's in science of botany of some sort. And so her knowledge of plants, her scientific knowledge of plants is very deep. She's very well studied. I believe she has her doctorate in botany or something. But to pair that with her Native American traditions and her Native American culture of blending it with the spirit of the plants and how we are connected to them and they speak to us. And it really started to deepen my connection into our Mother Earth and into all of these beautiful gifts that she offers us. Um, in the book, one of the first few chapters, Robin talks about the gift of strawberries. And even just thinking about strawberries as being a gift was a perspective changer, right? And she goes in to talk about how these beautiful little fruits, are tied into the first days of summer and how they are a gift of nourishment from nature and how they sweeten with the nutrients of the earth and from the sunshine in the sky, and how we need our pollinators, right, to go from flower to flower to make sure they turn into fruits. And again, man, nature is so magical, and it's really spectacular that our Earth Mother does provide us such an abundance of medicine for us to take advantage of that. But that book, and she goes into a lot of different connections to Mother Earth, to the spirits of the plants and the animals, to how we're connected to them. And that book was life changing. I mean, very, very much a big shift in my perspective of this connection to our nourishment. And I do invite you all to read it. And even if you're into audiobooks, quick aside, Robin Wall Kimmerer, if you get the audiobook of it, she actually narrates the book herself. And she is so gifted to hear her speak all of her Potawatomi words and using her native language is absolutely beautiful. And that even, I think, for me, deepened the connection into the spirit of the plants and animals and her stories even more. So with that, that shifted my perspective to really look at food and our nourishment so much differently. So again, you guys, you can read the book or don't, but I do ask as we continue through this episode to think about what your perspective is on nutrition and food, and with that, what opportunities do you have to connect more into your nourishment? And I think that kind of prongs us into two different directions here. There's a connection point and really connecting into your food. And I think a beautiful entry point to that is using gratitude and appreciation for your food. When is the last time that you gave gratitude for your food? Maybe some people are still doing it on Thanksgiving Day, but it's not usually a daily practice in our lives. And thinking about the farmers that brought the food to your table, into your mouth, right? The people who maybe packaged the food or harvested the food, or the people who maybe transported the food. And what about even our Earth Mother, who gave up nutrients from her soil in that food, or the pollinators that took part in making sure that that food grew for you, the sunshine, right? Giving gratitude and appreciation for the sun, the moon. The moon's gravitation on the earth, its gravitational pull helps crops come up, and sprout from being seeds into plants. And even the water, right? There's all of this stuff that is connected. And do you and have you given gratitude and appreciation for that to come onto your plate, and really thought about how grateful and appreciative you are for all of that magic to happen with our earth, with all of the natural things that happen, but also the people that brought the food to your table. So I think, again, a connection point into our food can come from gratitude and appreciation. But I also think that as we think about connecting into our nourishment, where in your diet can you actually strengthen the nourishment piece? And I want to talk about a few things here, that we can always deep dive into in later episodes. And I think it is worth mentioning, though, there are certain ways that you can really strengthen your nourishment. And I think in strengthening the nourishment piece, it does help us connect into it as well. So first and foremost, when it comes to your diet, choosing organic is so important. Eating more plants, Okay, so eat organic, mostly plants, is a beautiful, very quick and easy foundational tip to strengthen your nourishment. And I'll probably do an entire episode on the importance of organics because it is a big topic and there's a lot that goes into it. But, again, are you eating organic right now? Are you eating mostly plants? Our nutrients come from our fruits and vegetables. And so asking yourself again, just assess where your diet's at right now. And also, I am a believer in supplementation. And I think that in today's world, we need some supplementation. That's probably a whole nother episode for you guys as well. Because of the environmental toxins we are all exposed to, our bodies are using more nutrients than ever before. So I do think replenishing our bodies with some supplementation is really important to strengthen your nourishment. But also, in kind of still the food space, but not as often talked about is water. And unfortunately, our water has become so polluted nowadays. It's very rare anywhere that you can drink tap water without getting toxins in your body and fluoride and all the pharmaceuticals that people are flushing down the toilet and they're staying in our water systems. So making sure we have clean filtered water. And I'm not talking about a Brita filter. I'm talking about a reverse osmosis or a Berkey filter or something that is going to pull out the toxins from your water. And also I think in nourishment too, a big part of that is our air. Most of us now are living in big cities where air quality is it's just shit, to be honest. And with that, do you have air filtration in your homes? What is the quality of air that you have? And when it comes to your nourishment too, moving your body and finding some joyful movement is a part of it. But I think the first four, looking at organic plants, looking at supplementation, looking at your water supply, looking at your air quality, those are four huge factors to look at in really just canvassing your opportunity areas to strengthen your nourishment. Um, what we eat and consume, it literally becomes a part of us. So do you want to become, more junk and low quality, or do you want to become more magical, right? And higher quality and higher vibration, right? It really comes down for me as I see it these days to a state of vibration and vibrational being. And if you think about, let's take like a Big Mac as an example, right? There is a lot of dead food out there. And I would say a Big Mac is one of those dead foods. As when I was a teacher in holistic nutrition, one of the things we had our students do was to buy a fast food meal and let it sit out on the countertop just for at least a month and observe if any changes happen to it. And I recently saw on a Facebook post, one of my old students had kept her burger for 5 years. And it still looked almost exactly the same. I believe it was a McDonald's hamburger or cheeseburger. It was gross. But the reason that food doesn't decay, the whole purpose of our assignment for our students, the reason that that food doesn't decay is because it was never alive. Things that were alive decay. But if it's artificially manufactured and it has a bunch of plastic in it and chemicals, it's not going to decay like real food. So, when we're thinking about our connection, right, to our food and to our nourishment, and ultimately to beautifying our world, you do get to vote with your dollars. I think that's what we're saying here. So if you are thinking about, making the choice of the Big Mac or the soda or, any sort of confined animal feeding operation product, which is conventionally, grown animals and even conventionally grown plants, things that have toxins and pesticides and just bad karma around them, you get to vote with your dollars. And each time you're making one of those choices to eat this dead food, to eat things that are laden with sugar, to eat things that are not nourishing you, you're voting for the old story. You're voting for the story of separation. And you are saying that's okay to continue to do that. So I'd ask you, are you spending your money investing in yourself and in bettering yourself? And are you investing the money in the story of interbeing and connectedness? Or are your dollars fueling that story of separation? I think this is another big connection point in connecting into our nourishment, but also into bettering ourselves and beautifying our world, because you do get to vote with your dollars, and the way you are spending them and the choices you are making in what you are choosing to put into your body and into your life does make a big difference. So it reminds me, this topic always reminds me, when we think about connectedness and having gratitude for our food and really connecting into our nourishment, reminds me of the movie Avatar. Avatar is one of my favorite movies. If you become a regular listener, I will probably talk about Avatar and Star Wars in several episodes. So just be warned. But in Avatar, they are all about the story of interbeing, right? They understand this beautiful connection on their planet. And in one of the scenes, there is the one of the main characters, he has to kill an animal as part of his initiation into the tribe. And when they kill the animal, they say a prayer over that animal. And one of the things they say is that this animal, its sacrifice of life wasn't in vain, right? This animal will live on in us all. It will live on in the people. So the spirit of the animal will stay alive because it will live on and through the people. And I think that is the level of connection we need to get to bring in this story of interbeing and connecting into our nourishment. So, and if you haven't watched Avatar, highly recommend that one too. But I think that perspective is so beautiful. And again, I think we all have opportunities to get more into that story of interbeing, seeing us as all connected, and to have the gratitude and appreciation for the plants, the animals, the water that we are taking in, that is going on to live on in us, and really for us all, right? Because we're all connected. So, again, as we think about our bodies and bettering our bodies, we are given this amazing vessel, you guys, this human body. We're given this to journey through this human experience as a spiritual being. So I do believe we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and this vessel is carrying us through this reality in order to go on the journey. And so really start to connect into, how are you nourishing this vessel? I do think a big part of this, you do have to be willing to take care of yourself. And I'm going to talk a lot about self-care and self-love in future episodes. But for today, if nothing else, I do ask you to, as always, get curious. Okay, start to ask yourself some of these questions to establish a connection into your nourishment. Again, where did your food come from? What kind of nourishment is this providing you? Are the choices that you're making nourishing our planet? Are they fueling the story of separation, or are you supporting the story of interbeing? Are the things that you're consuming and bringing into your body, do you really want those to become a part of you? And what opportunities do you have to give more gratitude and appreciation for your food, for your water, for anything, right, that we're bringing in to nourish ourselves? So again, get curious, start to spend a little bit of time thinking about that. Maybe even invite in, a new practice into your life to connect more into your nourishment or to strengthen your nourishment, right? Maybe you have an opportunity to, pray on each meal with some gratitude and appreciation. Maybe there is an opportunity to bring in more organics or to bring in more plants or to get some clean water going for yourself and stop drinking tap water. Whatever it is, making a step in the right direction. It's not always about perfection, right? What is perfection anyway? I mean, it's about progress. So wherever you're at, know that it's okay. And I'm just inviting you to get curious, ask yourself these questions, and really ultimately, make a step toward our story of inner being, make a step toward connecting into your nourishment. I know for me, pretty much every day is like a Thanksgiving day. I'm always giving thanks for my food, for my nourishment, because I do believe these are gifts from our Earth Mother. And I believe they offer us so much to be able to journey through these lives. So I invite you all to begin to do the same, get connected into your nourishment, because again, this is such a foundational component of bettering yourself and beautifying our world. All right. Thank you all so much. Much love to you all, as always, tribe. And until next time. Hey, tribe. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this podcast, make sure to like the video below and then click subscribe so you never miss an episode. And remember, I've got lots of free resources available to you to support your healing, transformation, and ascension so you can help in making this a more beautiful world for us all. Make sure you check them out in the description below. Thanks again for tuning in, tribe. And until next time, much love to you all.